It's not always a sunshine day on the Kellogg's Tour of Britain, and the skies paid their own farewell yesterday to the race as it left Wales for England. But it was smiles all the way in Coventry, where Dag Otto Lauritsen became the first Norwegian to win a stage. The field finished 47 seconds later, and Phil Anderson was safely there to keep his lead overall. He leads the race by still those 4 seconds ahead of Vladimir Belli. In third place, Bo-Andre NAMTVEDT, 8 seconds back. Fourth is Heinz Imbuden, and fifth, the Frenchman Francois Lemarchand. The leaders of the three other competitions, the King of the Mountains leader is Eugenie Berzan from Russia. The points is being led by Vladimir Belli, and Chris Lillywhite is leading in the sprint competition. And this morning we are in Centenary Square in Birmingham, where the riders now face 113 miles to Manchester. Well, the skies are still grey, but for the time being at least they are dry. And they'll need dry roads today because they're going off into the Peak District. It's a tough route, and the last climb of the day is Oldgate Nick. Once they're over that, it's all downhill to Albert Square. Now everybody is asking who is going to challenge Phil Anderson.
Maybe Argentine attacked, but I think more the Italian guys, Fondriest and Belli, they're very strong uphill, and maybe they can attack him.
Today we have some hills, and especially I think the last hill there will be some attacks, because it's close to the finish then. It's only a descent on 40 kilometers, and if there's a group away it will be hard for him, I think.
I expect some attacks and active riding from the Lampre team, and we also have to try.
Indeed you do, Bo-Andre. You're looking for 8 seconds if you're going to win this race by Liverpool tomorrow. A rollout, the showers coming and going, and the riders now heading out towards the start. And the first crash of the day, Paul.
Well, I don't think it's a serious crash. I think Steve Bauer there on the floor is just lying down to cheer up the day for the riders on the dismal road on the way up to Manchester.
Oh, and Dag Otto Lauritsen almost hit the camera there. It was, had a real crash. Anyway, the riders safely on the open road, but the clouds are very grey.
The racing conditions for the day are overcast for most of the day, with very heavy rain showers coming down, sometimes torrential, with a high of 13 degrees Celsius.
14 miles into the race, and an early attack by two riders, Peter and Eric de Klerk on the attack. They're not related, by the way, pure coincidence they're out in the lead, but only just. We're coming up to the first Ordnance Survey sprint of the day. Small time bonuses at stake for the first three riders, and these two riders something like 20 seconds ahead of the whole field. That's Peter de Klerk in the lead. He gets the 3 seconds, and Eric de Klerk just behind. Now, this is the important part, Paul. This is the sprint for third place, and Lillywhite is the leader of the competition.
Well, there's Jesper Skibby on the far side, because Dag Otto Lauritsen got a lot of points yesterday, but Lillywhite is the faster man. He changes up a gear there. He's going for the line, and there's no way, I don't think, that Jesper Skibby's going to be able to challenge him. Well, Lillywhite really fighting with his bike here all the way up to the line, and he goes across there to take third place.
So the de Klerks 1 and 2, Chris Lillywhite in third slot. Well, there are many important people on the race. Alan Piper has found one of them, Dr. David Curtis.
How did an Irish doctor from Wexford get mixed up in the Kellogg's Tour of Britain?
Well, Alan, I've been on all the Nissan Classics so far. Unfortunately, you've built up an experience with the cyclists because they're different from an awful lot of other sportsmen. They have to be harder. When they crash, they can't afford to lie on the ground. Let's get up and get going. So, as a doctor, you have to quickly make a decision about whether they're fit to carry on or not.
And you never have to give them a boost morally?
No, these guys, they don't need a boost at all. The big problem is trying to get these guys to rest at times, because sometimes they get back onto the bike when they're injured, and then you have to do an examination on the move, like we are now, which you can understand is very difficult.
I'm sure they're in good hands.
I hope so, anyway.
And this race, like many races throughout the world, survives on the voluntary help by so many talented people. The race now heading out towards the Peak District, and Derby is on the horizon, and the field is all together at the moment. And the weather is changing too as we arrive at Derby. We have had reports all day of heavy thunderstorms and flooded roads, and it looks as though we're getting those poor weather conditions now here in Derby.
Well, two riders moving clear here with those weather conditions. That's Eugenie Berzan, the rider who was away for a long way a couple of days ago, and Peter de Klerk, who's always an aggressive rider from the Lotto squad in Belgium.
And so two riders are in the lead, and Alan Piper is also experiencing the conditions.
The rain is pouring down here on the road to Manchester. The leader of the mountain prize, Eugenie Berzan, has just got away from a small group that detached itself from the peloton. The Motorola team is chasing hard behind, trying to keep it all together. but Peter de Klerk and Eugenie Berzin are really putting on the pressure here. Max Chiandri was back there with that small group. He, of course, wouldn't drive because it's hard to protect Phil Anderson, but these two are trying to go it alone. It's a long way to Manchester and a lot of hills still to come.
And that's right, Alan, something like 75 miles still to go, and all of the climbs in the Peak District are still ahead of these two riders. This is the main field, and all of the Motorola riders here except one. In fact, Max Chiandri is in that second group that Alan Piper mentioned. There were 9 riders attacked. Those other 2 leaders are broke away, so there are 7 in between. And these are the 2 leaders now in Duffield Road in Derby. And just look at the weather conditions now as they start to cut through towards the second sprint of the day.
Well, it really is horrendous. You can see Peter de Klerk came through there in first place. Berzin was in second place, but you just caught a glimpse of the chasing group of riders behind there with Max Chiandri present.
And look at that rain now, because this is torrential, and there is the group that those 2 have left, and they seem to be losing a little bit of their impetus.
In fact, the impetus has gone, I think, there. In fact, the main field is just a little bit further down the road there.
So they're closing up. Let's have a look at the result. De Klerk gets another 5 points. It's his second win today. Berzin second, and it was Mirko Gualdi, a former world amateur champion, in third place. Now let's have a look from the helicopter and see where all the field is spread, as conditions are improving very, very slightly here. Those are the 2 leaders down there as we head off now towards Wirksworth and the first climb of the day. Now, as we pull back down the road, it is a good lead they've built up, and they've done this in only about 3 miles of racing, in fact, because just before we came into Derby, they left the original leading group, and they've gone clear, and the original chase group that we've just seen has been swallowed up by the main field, so they are now all together in the big pack.
Well, that is a very big gap down to the main field there at the moment, and this is what can happen when the weather changes, as it has done today, because the riders are going back and forward to their team cars to get their racing capes, to get gloves, to get hats, and that is a time when they will slow down. It's going to be a big advantage for the 2 leaders, who are moving clear extremely well at the moment.
And here we are on Wirksworth Moor, and if you're watching our programme a couple of days ago in Swansea, you'll remember that Berzin was the man who was triumphing on Constitution Hill. 6 minutes 19 seconds, that's a superb lead they've built up, but we have to tell you that these 2 riders are a long way behind overall, and for that reason the Motorola team, Paul, are not going to start chasing immediately.
Well, the reason is because Berzin, who's the best place out of the 2 riders, is over 13 minutes behind Phil Anderson in the overall classification. And you can see that there's no real chase on in earnest at the moment. They're quite happy to let those 2 riders stay out in front and wait maybe for one of the other teams, like the Lamprey team, who want to win this race overall, to get up there and do some work as well.
Now back to the leaders. We're approaching the summit here of Wirksworth Moor, around 57 miles covered. And Berzin is actually climbing very, very well here. No challenge at all from Peter de Klerk as they come over the line. Little glance there from Berzin just to make sure that Peter de Klerk didn't try to sprint for the points. But as you can see, the white jersey that Berzin is wearing is the King of the Mountains leader's jersey, and he's building up quite a lead in that competition now.
It'll be a good road for them over the next couple of kilometres, because it's very, very narrow, and they won't really be able to organise the chase too much behind. And you can see there's no hard chase on at the moment. The riders taking it in their stride. When they come up to the top of Wirksworth Moor, they've got another big steep climb to come after this, and I think that must be in the back of their minds.
Paul Sherwin saying all of that with feeling, because before he went to the continent to race the Tour de France 7 times, these were his training roads. And there's Heinz Imbeden in the blue raincoat to our left, Bo-Andre NAMTVEDT, Sean Yates on the far side. This is Bo Hamburger, and some of the strong men of the mountains now at the front. On the far side, a rider I've a lot of time for, Paul, is Vladimir Belli.
Well, he's the big challenger to Phil Anderson, definitely. Only 4 seconds behind at the moment, but every time the road goes uphill, he's there at the front. Look at the acceleration here, and Hamburger struggling to stay on his wheel.
Yes, we've never seen Belli race in Britain before, but he is very, very impressive. Remember, he's the man in second place overall in this competition. He's shaken them all off as he sprints for the 3rd place at the King of the Mountains point. Gets it with ease there from Bo Hamburger. And Hamburger was a man that broke away for a long time on the Kellogg's Tour last year. Let's have a look at the result then over the top of the climb of Wirksworth Moor. Berzin gets the 6 points, de Klerk gets 5, then Belli, Hamburger, Sean Yates rode well for 5th there, he's no great climber, and Bo-Andre NAMTVEDT is in 6th place. Now on to the next climb with the leaders. They're building up quite a lead here. We're at 59 miles now, the climb of Black Tor, and this a much steeper proposition. It's a first category climb, and again Berzin very happy to set the pace.
It's a very tough climb, this as well, and it's made much more difficult by the fact there's a lot of gravel being brought onto the road by those thunderstorms we've had earlier on this morning, and it really is difficult because it could cause a lot of punctures. And with the roads being so narrow, if somebody punctures at a stage like this, it will be very difficult to get spare material.
And there we have the leaders on the front. Belly again now with his racing jersey cape off, so he's wearing the green jersey in the centre of our picture. Sean Yates to our far right, Bo Hamburger in the white top there. And all of the strong men again setting the pace ball. They keep control of the race by just riding tempo on the front, don't they?
They keep the pressure on all the time, but you can see Anderson really seems to be at labour sometimes, especially on these steep climbs. Compared to the style of Belly, he is so easy, waiting all the time for a chink in Anderson's armour.
Back up to the two leaders, and 200 metres to go to the summit of the climb here. And let's have a look what the gap is. 6 minutes 37 seconds, so they're holding their own very much so here in the high hills of the Peak District as they go over the summit. And again, no challenge from de Klerk. He seems to have settled for the sprints down below today, and giving all of the mountain first places to Berzan, who's building up a superb lead. Should be enough today, in fact, to be the winner tomorrow in Liverpool. Here's Fondriest now.
Fondriest has been a great teammate this week to Belly all the time. He's been there to help him on the mountains, but Fondriest is a man, I think, who must be thinking a little bit further forwards now to the Leeds International Classic on Sunday, one of the World Cup counting events. But all the time, Belly is there. Anderson knows he's got to watch this man because that 4-second gap between the two of them is not a lot at all.
Now Belly is at the front. Very narrow and difficult road this. You've got to be very strong, I can't overemphasize that, to hold your position here at the front on a road like this. And Belly is doing just that. Anderson not too far away, and that, I think, was Bo-Andre NAMTVEDT coming through on the inside. Just a tap on the shoulder to tell Fondriest he was there.
Well, as they come up to the top here, the top 4 men in the overall classification are watching each other very carefully here, because just behind Bo-Andre NAMTVEDT was Imboden. As they go over the top, Belly takes 3rd place again, and what he's trying to do is to keep in contest for the overall conditions of the mountains.
And if you look out across the Peak District, Berzan gets 12 points this time because it was a first category climb. Belly was 3rd, Max Chiandri there in 5th, Phil Anderson in 6th place. So the yellow jersey never too far away from the action. And so what a beautiful scene it is. The sun has come out at last now. We can see the Peak District at its best as the two leaders continue to head off now towards Buxton. And time for a drink here for Eugenie Berzan. And they are still planning a long ride to home. And welcome back to stage 4 of the Kellogg's Tour. The riders now facing up to their 3rd big climb of the day in the Peak District. They're on the 113 miles from Birmingham to Manchester. This is the centre of Buxton. Peter de Klerk and Eugenie Berzan, the two leaders, still out in front by 8 minutes and 24 seconds now at the 3rd sprint line of the day in the Ordnance Survey sprint, and de Klerk taking it uncontested there by Berzan behind him. Well, now they're going right out into very bleak countryside indeed for the big climb of the day at Oldgate Nick. And this is the field coming into Buxton now. Some 8 minutes has passed by. Chris Lillywhite, the sprint leader, is going again for the 3rd place on the line. He gets it quite easily, and that should ensure he keeps his lead in that competition tonight. And as we look out across the Peak District, here's the result of the sprint. De Klerk, Berzan and Lillywhite taking 1 point again. And the overall situation at the end of the 4th day, Lillywhite, but the closing in, has 19 points. Berzan is 2nd, Dag Otto Lauritsen is 3rd. Now news is coming that Max Chiandri has retired. Let's go to Alan Piper and Henny Kuiper.
Back there at the feed, Henny, we saw Max Chiandri get off his bike. Last year's winner and such a good rider. Can you tell us why he's retired?
Yeah, we have very bad weather, and he was a little sick of the weather of yesterday already, and we will not take a risk for the Leeds Classic on Sunday.
So it looks as though Max Chiandri is saving himself for the big race on Sunday around Leeds. And also we are hearing that Moreno Argentin, the former world champion and a favourite for Sunday, has also given up Paul as we now go on to the lower slopes of Oldgate Nick.
This is the hardest part of the climb. They climb up here for a short while. You can see every time it goes uphill, it's Berzan who is setting the pace. They've got to climb to the top of this climb, and then it looks as on the profile as if it's straight down to the finish, but in fact they've got about 5 or 6 kilometers of very hard undulating roads before they come to the top of the Cat and Fiddle.
And the rest of the Motorola team, without Max Chandri now, are now approaching the climb, and all of them at the front of the race, picking up the tempo a little bit. 8 minutes, I think, is enough for them now, because Berzan is getting close. That 30 minutes he's lost already to Anderson.
Well, they want to be sure that that doesn't get too big, because 5 minutes is quite easy to lose or to gain on a road like this, because you can see with all these kind of frost that they get in this area during the winter time, the road breaks up a lot, and it's very, very rough surface here, and the two riders suffering to keep the rhythm going as they climb up the climb here.
Well, the rain is back with us now, as you can see, and the main field now beginning the climb. And in fact, we're hearing now 7 riders have given up so far today out on the course. So they're feeling the effects of the wet ride yesterday, coupled with the intermittent showers today. But I'll tell you, when they come, they really are heavy. Well, we're now making the right turn. This is where the climb starts of Oldgate, Nick, in a very beautiful part here of the Peak District. And now they're starting the climb. Sean Yates leading them up the hill, and there is the man they're protecting, the yellow jersey of Phil Anderson. Up towards the top of the climb now, and Berzan setting the pace all the way to the line again. This is a man who won a world title over one of the shortest distances, 4,000 meters in 1990 when an amateur with the Soviet Union, and now he's turning out to be a very good professional and indeed a very good climber indeed.
As they go over the top there, it looks as if Berzan got it just on the line there. Peter de Klerk will take second place. But these two riders really do have to go down, I think, as the most aggressive riders of this year's Tour of Britain.
I'd agree. They've always been in the thick of the action, usually by themselves over the last 4 days. Now, a different proposition for the field here. They're stringing out quite nicely over the whole of the climb.
And again, as soon as it goes uphill, it's Belly there who's trying to set the pace and look for Anderson to see what can happen. But at the back of the field, there's the leader of the hotspot sprint competition, Chris Lillywhite, suffering quite a bit there. And Martin Bakker from the TVM team, the rider we saw finish second over the big climb of Constitution Hill in Swansea a couple of days ago.
But not the same proposition here for this man, Vladimir Belli. He rides so well. He's such a neat rider. He's at 200 meters there. That's what the green flag means, as he now sprints out for the 3rd place on the climb. And being drawn into a long, thin line, Belly is on the front and is going to go for 3rd place. He's still nipping away the remaining points for the King of the Mountains competition, but the 2 front runners are building themselves a lead on that today. And a nice little challenge coming from Imbeden, but no, Belly gets it quite easily in the end. Now here's the result of Oldgate Nick. The 10 points going to Berzan, de Klerk second, Belly, Ugramov it was in fact in 4th place there, and Sean Yates again taking 5th, climbing very well today. And here he is at the front now as they start the descent. The overall situation in the mountains, Berzan has 74 points now. The rest really are fighting out for 2nd place tomorrow. Now on the descent, this is Herman Frieson, who has a little problem with a tyre. And in fact, at 43 is Peter Falazin who's given him a wheel. So while they fight out to the thought of getting back together for the descent, we'll turn our thoughts now to the finish in Manchester. Looking down on Albert Square from our helicopter, let's hope we're looking down on the Olympic city of the year 2000. And these are the 2 leaders. Now, Paul, what is happening? They've absolutely turned off the gas pedal here.
Well, it looks to me as it's going to be a little bit of a tactical finish. The 2 riders have been together. A quick word with Jean-Luc Vandenbroek, the team manager of the Lotto squad, and it looks as if Peter de Klerk is saying, I just can't get him to come to the front.
And Berzan looking completely nonplussed there. Phil Anderson, though, is feeling the chill of the stage today. It has been very, very cold out there on the mountains, but it's nearly over, Phil. Don't worry, we're heading towards home now. Well, look at these 2 here. They're not racing at all.
Yeah.
What is the problem?
You want to ride? Oh, right.
Well, Peter de Klerk says the problem's on his right, and clearly Berzan understands English and said there's no problem. If you want to attack, go ahead and do it. But it's cost them 2 minutes already. Perhaps Alan Piper can help us. Alan, what's going on?
Apparently, Eugenie hasn't been doing much work all day, and he was the one that instigated this break. Why this is so, I don't know. You can only think it's stupid that they've been out here a whole day, and they want to blow the whole lead and lose the stake as well. But de Klerk is right, because he doesn't want to drag the other man to the line and then get beaten in the sprint. So it's a stalemate.
Well, at this stage of the game, an action like that really could cost them the whole stage, and it really is quite stupid because the bunch is really coming down. 3 minutes and 23 seconds. If they play around like that any longer, it's all going to come back together, and that would be a shame after such a long stage, and it's almost a stop.
And look at this, we're now into the final kilometre here. They've lost something like 5 minutes of their lead, and this is what you sort of see when you watch a track competition as the riders try to jockey for position. And the field is being brought towards Manchester quite quickly here by Sean Yates and Steve Bauer.
Yates is putting the pressure on at the front, chasing down. They can't know what's happening, but as we come into Manchester, it looks now as if Berzan is going to take over the lead, and that is what de Klerk is going to want.
And he's got Berzan where he wanted him, out in front. It took him 10 kilometres to do it, and he comes smoothly off Berzan's wheel. De Klerk gets the stage win, and that's the victory for the Belgian as we swing quickly back down the road because that gap has come down dramatically in the last 3 miles. And this is Maurizio Fondries now, looking for his teammate Jan Verade, who's just behind him. It's very, very greasy here as Fondries comes. Verade is round the corner, gets the lead too. What a sprinter this man is proving to be this week. As he comes up now to the line, he's going to take it with ease. Chris Lillywhite is right behind him, so Chris is doing a good finish as well in Albert Square. Verade takes third, Lillywhite gets fourth on the line. Tremendous sprint there by Chris Lillywhite, and all of the field are home. So, a second staging of the year for Peter de Klerk, and the second for the Belgian Lotto team here this week. De Klerk finishing just ahead of Eugene Berzan in the sprint, and 1 minute 57 seconds later, the bunch coming home. Jan Verade leading them in, Chris Lillywhite fourth, Cesare Zamana in fifth, and Phil Anderson also in there in 10th spot. Peter de Klerk reaping the benefits of his strong finish to a Tour de France, and a piece of waterfall crystal part of his reward today. Overall though, very little change. Phil Anderson still has that 4 seconds advantage over Vladimir Belli. In third place, Bo-André NAMTVEDT. Fourth, Heinz Immerdon, and fifth, Francois Lemarchand. The two escapees today, they climb up a little bit. 24th place now for Eugenie Berzan, 43rd for Peter de Klerk.
That's another day near, but it was a hard day today.
Yeah, it was a hard day. It wasn't so difficult for me personally, but my team really took the brunt of the race and rode very strongly. You know, I'm confident of winning the race now. I have such a strong team here.
What about the loss of Chiandri today, who abandoned halfway through? Is that not going to deplete the strength?
No, I don't think so. You know, I think he's thinking more of the World Cup race coming on the weekend. But no, I think I've still got a very strong team here.
So for the fourth day in a row, Phil Anderson is still the leader of the Kellogg's Tour of Britain. In the King of the Mountains, Berzan today rode so well he has a clear lead in that competition, while Chris Lillywhite is keeping Great Britain flying high in the Ordnance Survey sprint competition. Tomorrow the riders will restart at Bradford, 109 miles, taking them on the final stage to Liverpool. There are 3 climbs, including Shibden Wall and also Ramsbottom Rake. And then it's all downhill to the 5 circuits of the city in Liverpool. Remember, all of the results are on page 365 on Fortel. And don't forget as well, there's a new time for our programme tomorrow night, 8 p.m. here on Channel 4. Until tomorrow, from the Olympic bid city of Manchester, goodbye.